Welcome to 24 Hour Sports. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And as you can see by the title, you understand why you're here. You're a victim. You fell into a part of the trap. But let me talk about a couple things. There's a couple facts in the NBA that I can't fight. I can't fight that the games have been more entertaining. I can't fight that there has been more scoring. I can't fight that a lot of teams feel like they're in the mix to make a playoff run. But as we get further away from the NFL season with the playoffs going to be coming to an end very soon, the NBA, we're almost at the All-Star break. NBA content is ratcheting up in general. You can see that on this channel. I look at guys like Kenny. I look at guys like JJ Redick. And, I watch those videos. I study the game myself. And the theme of this video, the big question that I have, does parity really distort reality? Let's talk about it. Let's take it a little bit further. I look at the teams like the Jazz, like the Kings. And don't get me wrong, the Kings have been playing exceptional. That's one of my favorite new teams that have came on. I like to see Keegan Murray, Domantas Sabonis playing like an all-NBA. De'Aaron Fox playing like what we thought he would always be. And that team is special. I think they have a good shot at just competing in the playoffs. But let's look at some other teams. We got teams like the Bulls who are struggling. And speaking to, the whole concept of holding on to a player a year late, being afraid to trade a player because you don't want to ruin what you feel is a potential shot at a playoff run. I think that the problem is not that parity distorts reality. I think the problem is that what is our sense of parity and what is our sense of a reality? When we look at parity, a lot of people say, the Lakers, they could go on a win streak and they can be right back in the playoffs. They can be right back locked into a playoff spot instead of a play-in. So these teams who aren't even in the play-in can be a top 6 seed. And a lot of people are saying things like that. But what I want to say is, let's look at the standings. I'm going to pull them up on the screen for reference. Look at last year's standings compared to this year's standings. The key thing that I want you to focus on is the games behind. I don't see a huge difference to where there has been a team that's just pulled away from everybody. I guess right now, if you want to say the Denver Nuggets and the Boston Celtics are pulling away, that's kind of far-fetched to say that. But let's look at last year. The only team we really saw pull away was the Phoenix Suns. And we saw what they did in the playoffs. They didn't do much of anything significant. So talking about that and talking about now, it's not rare for us to see the Oklahoma Thunder beat the Boston Celtics on a random night. For us to see random teams beating top-level elite teams who we think highly of. I don't think that's too out of the ordinary. It's always been that way in the NBA. But when we look at the teams who really, really have a shot to win it all, do we think that the Sacramento Kings can really beat Memphis? Do we think the Sacramento Kings can really beat Denver? I mean, there's a compelling case and it'll be a great series to watch. But do we think this? Do we think the New Orleans Pelicans in a 7-game series against a veteran team like the Golden State Warriors, for example, fully healthy on both sides, are we completely sold on that? Are we completely sold on the Cleveland Cavaliers beating KD and Kyrie, beating Giannis and the Bucks? What is your parity? Because other than the Golden State years and Miami years, LeBron's era, his team has always been dominant in his conference. Minus that, looking to now, there's been parity these past few years. We weren't sure who was going to win it these past few years. And additionally, looking at the trade market, look at the trade value. Every GM, every team around the league is scared to make a trade. This is for guys like Rudy Gobert who have ruined the trade market. And I don't think we're going to see much big trades during this trade deadline. I don't think it'll be very saturated because we have to think seriously. If we have to think from a GM perspective, it's not that the parity is distorting what we think of our team. We don't think we're better or we don't think we're worse than we actually are. But why risk making a move and getting ourselves stuck in a position like the Minnesota Timberwolves? It just wouldn't align logically because you have to keep fans in the stands and you still want to be competitive. Bringing me back to my overall question and the theme of this video, does parity distort reality? Are teams seriously thinking that they're better than they are? Are teams projecting themselves? Are teams scared to make trades because they think they really have a shot? I think when it's all said and done and we look back on this season, we're going to be happy as fans that it was competitive, that we seen crazy games, crazy teams coming out of nowhere. But when it's all said and done in the playoffs, I think that there's still going to be 3 top teams in each conference. And let me give you my teams before I end off this video. I got Brooklyn, I got Milwaukee, I got Boston, I got Denver, I got Memphis, and I still have Golden State. But let me know what you think about this in the comments. Has parity really distorted reality, or are we just falling into the trap?